For much of the 19th century, local and state history emphasized the region's role in shaping the national republic. Works on the Revolution and the Battle of Brandywine presented dramatic, hero-centric epics during the period of idealization in American historiography. According to Ernst Breisach, these heroes became the manifestations of national character, and with these dramatizations, myths of a different variety took form and root. Mythologies. Jacob Neff's 1845 history of the American Revolution devoted part of a chapter to the Battle of Brandywine. Neff's work was heavy on poetic prose, but light on details, focusing instead on American gallantry and the defeat of the invaders. With great disadvantage on the part of the Americans, who were also much inferior in numbers and in arms, proclaimed Neff, the armies rushed together in fierce and desperate conflict. In fact, the Americans were not outnumbered, and they were armed no worse than the men serving under William Howe. Neff's work also discussed the role of the Marquis de Lafayette and his gallant wounding, and heaped praise on Nathaniel Greene. General Greene came up with the reserve and, by a singularly skillful maneuver, opened his ranks for the fugitives, and after they had passed through, like a father protecting his children, closed his ranks behind them, checked the pursuit of the enemy by the fire of his artillery, and completely covered the retreat. This, with many other splendid achievements, invests the character of Greene with an air of romance, which will always be felt by the American people, and elicit unbounded praises from the unborn Homers of our country. George Bancroft's 1866 History of the United States includes a military study of the battle and campaign. Although a monumental achievement for its time, Bancroft's study was riddled with errors and continued the theme of hero worship. As Washington rode up and down his lines, the loud shouts of his men witnessed their love and confidence, and as he spoke to them in earnest and cheering words, they clamored for battle. Bancroft's book also mentions the engagement of Hessian troops and refers to the vigorous charge of the Hessian and British grenadiers who vied with each other in fury as they ran forward with the bayonet. From the time of the Revolution through many generations thereafter, Americans remained genuinely angry that King George hired Germanic troops to fight against them. As a result, most histories of the Revolution and the battle overemphasized the role, real or imagined, of those troops. An 1881 history of Chester County, Pennsylvania, includes another basic account of the battle that includes several incorrect and undocumented claims. The study perpetuates the notion, for example, that Americans went into the battle with subpar weaponry. This belief lived on for most of the next century, even though there is no primary evidence to support this claim. The Chester County history also made excuses for Washington's failure that day, and elevated a local citizen named Thomas Cheney to hero status for saving the American army. The country and interpretations evolve. By the end of the 19th century, America faced several changes that influenced how the story of the Revolution was told. The transformation from a collection of rural economies into an industrialized nation after the Civil War tarnished the idealistic view many Americans had about their nation. The earlier period had glorified war and emphasized the greatness of heroes such as Washington and Lafayette, but the carnage wrought by the Civil War went a long way toward eliminating that mindset. The post-war industrialization, coupled with the massive influx of European immigrants, brought class struggles to the forefront of the American consciousness. The writing of history started to emphasize the role of the common man rather than heroes or the upper class. A series of historical markers were placed on the Brandywine battlefield in 1915. The dedication ceremonies included a presentation on the history of the battle by a Professor Smith Burnham. The professor's speech continued to note certain heroes, though in a much subdued manner. For example, he emphasized the minor role played in the battle by the young John Marshall, future Chief Justice of the United States.